You know, I'm getting kinda tired pointing out how traditional this series has been so far, how slight and conversational the episodes have been so far. Doctor Who can be anything in the world. You can have the Doctor playing board games with cultural appropriating demigods. You can have the Doctor clone himself, shrink the clone, and have the clone crawl around his brain to fight a virus. You can have bipedal rhinoceros police officers teleport an entire hospital to the moon to track down a plasma vampire. And those aren't even the good episodes. So when you opt instead for 4 iterations of recognizably stock Doctor Who plots in a row, and drain out some of the urgency and complexity to the point where an episode that says racism is bad feels like a radical outlier, then what the hell? Did somebody slip Series 10 a Xanax? In this case, we've hit the scary episode of the series, which, like 90% of the scary episodes of New Who, is a haunted house affair. Bill is looking for a place to stay along with her friend and 4 other college students when they're offered a deal by a quiet landlord to stay at his creaky old manor for next to no rent. His only stipulation is that they never go into the central tower. Bill asks the Doctor to help her move in, but the Doctor immediately finds the manor and the renting situation suspicious, which is less about him being experienced in matters alien and supernatural, and more about him having eyes. At the very least, this place isn't up to modern safety regulations. As you probably guessed, there's something evil lurking here, something in the walls themselves, and it starts to pick off the students one by one. It's up to Bill and the Doctor to solve the mystery of the manor and put its evils to rest. So I want to emphasize up front that this episode isn't bad. Series 10 hasn't had a bad episode so far as I'm concerned, but it is shockingly unremarkable. What it really lacks is personality, starting with the location. Why is this haunted house story so well lit? With the exception of one short scene meant to show off the new sonic screwdriver's capabilities as a torch, everything is flatly lit with soft shadows and not a single flickery light bulb in sight. Sure, unreliable lights are a horror cliche, one predicated by the fact that the episode goes out of its way to point out all the old appliances and outdated electrical sockets and bad wiring, but the fact never really seems to act against the characters or provide the setting with any atmosphere. Visually, this is one boring haunted house. I mean, Night Terrors sucked, but at least it looked interesting. More effect was put into the sound design. One of the main aspects of this particular haunting is that something is reacting to certain sounds and responding with its own sounds, like the titular knocking that seems to impossibly jump across the house. In fact, there's a special immersive stereo mix on the BBC website, something I haven't been able to experience myself, but goes some way in making the episode stand out. It makes me think that maybe this would have been better served as a big finished audio story. You can have the sound-based scares and have the listener do the spooky lighting in their own imaginations. That said, there isn't any actual identifying sound for the presence that's menacing these characters. Now, we got the knocking, we got floorboards creaking, we got what sounds like mice scuttling in the walls, but nothing that alien to distinguish our monster of the week. Speaking of, there are effectively 3 villainous elements in this plot. One is a small CGI effect that may play on certain audience phobias but isn't very visually unique, or even that good looking of an effect. Another one is a creature visual that's pretty much a rerun. I won't spoil it here, but let's say it was done more interesting in one of the Christmas specials. And then finally, there's the mysterious landlord, who's played by David Suchet in a role that seems utterly wasted on him. You managed to get Porro as a guest star, frickin' Porro! And you don't have him and Capaldi playing elaborate 6th-dimensional chess battles in the space between spaces? David Suchet is the kind of guy you get to play villains on Doctor's level, like Toby Jones as the Dream Lord. It's even kind of implied in the name. He's just called the Landlord. The Landlord versus the Time Lord, but no, the character is actually really meek and ineffectual once his motivations are laid bare. Suchet plays him well, don't get me wrong, but it's like getting Patrick Stewart to play the dad from The Idiot's Lantern. The rest of the cast isn't that much more interesting, a bunch of nobody characters that will almost certainly never be seen or mentioned again, not even stereotypical horror movie victims, just kids. That's a kid, and that's a kid, and oh look, another kid. One of them's a really tall kid. So with the scares neutered, the guest star wasted, and the victims interchangeable, we fall back on the chemistry between Bill and the Doctor. Except for this episode, Bill is actively embarrassed by her relationship with the Doctor. Every time he's sharing space with Bill's friends, she lies and says he's her grandparent. To what end, I was never really sure of. I get that she can't tell people about her adventures with the Doctor, but why be embarrassed by the fact that she's friends with the really cool college professor? A throwaway line like, "I don't want them thinking we're sleeping together," or something like that, might hand-wave this away, but it won't change the fact that Bill is constantly pushing the Doctor away and spends most of the episodes split up from him. Which means no real fun Bill-Doctor dialogue to keep you going through all the boring rehashes. Again, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Knock Knock reaches a bare minimum of writing and production competency that keeps me from saying it's a bad episode, but it lacks imagination and doesn't capitalize on the resources given to it. In the wide field of scary episodes, this could well be the most boring of the entire franchise, and certainly the most boring in what's turned out to be a rather low-energy Series 10. At least the emoji robots are a thing to look at. If you have to see it, I would recommend checking out that weird stereo mix if you can catch it. The only saving grace here is that the episode's coda suggests we're about to kick off the series arc into gear, find out what's in the vault, find out why Nardole is still a thing, maybe build up some actual momentum. This show really needs some caffeine, guys. Let's see if it perks up any next time with Oxygen.